Welcome back to the Deep Dive. If you're building a career in IT, or even just looking to understand the tech landscape better, you know it can feel like a vast, often confusing ocean. Our mission here is always to help you cut through that noise and get to the core of what really matters. Today, we're navigating a truly powerful concept that's transforming how applications are built, deployed, and ultimately, how easily they run. We're taking a deep dive into Dockerizing Spring Boot applications. We're going to unpack what that jargon actually means, why it's become such an indispensable skill for anyone in technology, and crucially, how mastering this can be a game changer for your IT career. Our insights today come straight from a fantastic guide titled Dockerizing Spring Boot, a beginner's guide to containerization.
That's right. For anyone just stepping into the IT world, or maybe looking to level up, understanding Docker isn't just about learning a new tool. Not really. It's about grasping a foundational approach that simplifies so many of the challenges that once made software development incredibly complex. It's almost like learning a universal language for how software actually runs, making everything much smoother for you.
Okay, so let's start with the absolute basics then. Dockerizing. What are we actually talking about when we say we Dockerize a Spring Boot application? For someone new, I imagine this might sound a bit like a sci-fi term.
It definitely can sound that way, but it's actually quite practical. Think of Dockerizing your application as packaging it into a completely self-contained portable unit. Our source material has a great analogy for this. Imagine it like packing a carefully prepared lunchbox. Inside that lunchbox isn't just your sandwich, right? It's also got all the specific utensils, napkins, maybe a drink you'll need, all perfectly organized together.
Okay, the lunchbox analogy. I like that.
Yeah, so when we talk about a Spring Boot application, that's your sandwich in this analogy. And for those new to coding, a Spring Boot app is a really popular way to build powerful, ready-to-go applications using Java. These are often the brains behind things like websites, maybe the customer service systems you interact with online, or even parts of, say, banking software.
Got it. So the core application.
Exactly. Now, Docker takes that Spring Boot app, your sandwich, and bundles it with absolutely everything it needs to run properly. That includes the specific version of Java it was built with, any additional software libraries it relies on, we often call these dependencies, and all its configuration settings. The point is, no matter where you open that lunchbox, your app will behave exactly the same way every single time. Consistency.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's really all about consistency.
Yeah.
And to achieve this, the guide mentions a few key pieces of the Docker puzzle. Could you maybe walk us through those main components for our listeners?
Absolutely. Yeah, think of it like the recipe and ingredients for that perfect lunchbox. First, you have the Docker container. This is the actual lunchbox itself, the standalone unit that's actively running your Spring Boot app and all its bundled components. It's isolated, which means it won't interfere with anything else running on your computer or server. Very important.
Okay, the running instance.
Right. Then there's the Docker image. This is kind of like the blueprint for the container. Think of it like the detailed recipe that defines exactly what goes into that lunchbox. It's a static, unchangeable snapshot of your application and its entire environment.
The template, basically.
Precisely. Next up, the Dockerfile. This is the actual recipe card, if you will. It's a simple text file containing step-by-step instructions. It tells Docker how to build that image we just talked about, specifying details like which base operating system to use, which Java version to include, and where your application code should go inside it.
So the instructions.
Mm-hmm. And finally, there's Docker Hub. Think of this like a massive public library or maybe a shared online kitchen for these app blueprints, these images. It's a cloud-based repository where you can store your own Docker images, share them with your team or the world, or pull down pre-built images made by others. This means you could potentially grab someone else's recipe and instantly have their application ready to run on your own machine. It's very powerful for collaboration.
So if the Docker file is the recipe card, and the Docker image is the blueprint of the packed lunchbox, the container is the actual lunchbox running your delicious Spring Boot app. That's actually a really clear way to break it down, especially for beginners just getting started. Now that we understand what these different pieces are, let's get into how this lunchbox process actually works in practice for a Spring Boot app. Our guide describes a pretty straightforward step-by-step process that sounds like even a beginner could follow it to containerize their first application.
Yeah, that's a great next step because this isn't just theory, right? For someone looking to build an IT career, these are the practical steps you'd actually take. So you start by, well, creating a working Spring Boot application. This could be something simple, like a web application for managing a to-do list, or maybe a basic online store backend. It's your core code, plus any external tools it needs, like maybe a database connector or something similar.
Your basic working app.
Correct. Next, you define a Dockerfile. Remember that recipe card we mentioned? This is where you write it down. It's just a plain text file, and it lists clear, simple instructions. For example, it might say something like, start with this specific version of Java, copy my compiled Spring Boot app files here. And those compiled files are basically your code translated into something the computer can directly understand and run. And then tell Docker exactly how to start the app when the container boots up.
Okay, so you write the instructions down.
Exactly. Once you have that Docker file ready, you use a simple Docker command in your terminal to build a Docker image. This command reads your Docker file and essentially bakes that recipe into that fixed, immutable blueprint, the image. This image now contains your app and its entire isolated environment. The Java runtime, your executable application file, all the settings. It's a complete, unchanging snapshot.
Baked in, ready to go.
You got it. With the image ready, you can then run a Docker container from that image. This is like launching a tiny, super efficient virtual machine, but it's incredibly lightweight and specifically designed just to run your app. And crucially, it's totally isolated, meaning it won't mess with other apps or system configurations on your computer.
And the real magic here, especially for someone learning the ropes in IT, is that once you have that running container, you can basically deploy it anywhere.
Exactly. That's the killer feature. Because that container is completely self-contained, it can run on any system that has Docker installed. Could be your laptop, a cloud server like AWS, a colleague's machine, maybe across the globe it will behave the exact same way. This eliminates so many of those frustrating, well, it works on my machine, moments that used to just plague development teams. For a new IT professional, this consistency is, frankly, a massive relief and a huge time saver.
No more mystery bugs depending on the server.
Precisely. And finally, you can easily manage it with Docker tools. These are simple commands that let you start, stop, see logs, or even scale your containers. For instance, if your new to-do list app suddenly gets popular and needs to handle way more users, you can just launch multiple instances of the same container with a few commands. Boom, you've instantly increased its capacity. It's incredibly flexible.
That really highlights why this is such a big deal. It almost sounds like Docker is the ultimate peace treaty in that long-standing war between developers and operations teams. So if that's how it works, the next natural question is, why has this whole lunchbox strategy become so pivotal right now, especially for someone trying to make their mark in IT?
That's an excellent question, yeah, because the why isn't just about cool technology. It's really about solving serious, real-world problems that used to cause massive headaches for software teams. And honestly still do if they're not using something like Docker.
Yeah, but what kind of problems?
Well, one of the biggest pains Docker just completely cures is environment inconsistencies. Remember that it works on my machine, we talked about. Before Docker, deploying an app was often like hoping your intricate, delicate clock would run perfectly in someone else's house, even if they had different tools, different humidity, different everything. Docker provides a sealed, standardized environment. It ensures it's always your house for the app, no matter where it actually runs. This means fewer late-night debugging sessions, faster fixes, huge benefits.
That alone sounds worth it.
Oh, absolutely. It also drastically simplifies complex setup. Think about it. Instead of manually installing specific versions of Java, configuring web servers, setting up all those dependencies on every single machine, your dev machine, the test server, the production server, Docker condenses deployment down to essentially just running a single command, Docker run. For a new IT person, this is enormous. You spend way less time fiddling with configurations and more time actually building cool stuff and learning.
Okay, so easier setup. What else?
Then there were the nightmares of dependency conflicts. Imagine a single server trying to run two different applications. Maybe one needs an older version of a critical library, but the other needs a newer one. Total chaos, right? Docker completely avoids this by isolating each app into its own container. Each app gets its own dedicated, clean environment with exactly the dependencies it needs. No more conflicts.
So they don't step on each other's toes.
Exactly. And for businesses, this is a big one. Docker revolutionized scalability challenges. If you're building, say, an e-commerce app and you suddenly have a massive Black Friday sale coming up, you need to handle a huge, maybe unpredictable surge in users. Before Docker, scaling up often meant complex, slow, manual server provisioning and configuration. Now, you just launch more containers running your app. It's almost trivial to scale horizontally to meet demand instantly.
Wow, okay. That's powerful for businesses.
Definitely. And finally, it cures the related problem of slow deployment and high maintenance. Moving apps from a developer's laptop to the live production servers used to be this long, nerve-wracking, error-prone manual process. Sometimes it took days. Docker streamlines this entire release process. It makes deployments much faster, way more reliable, and simplifies applying updates across potentially hundreds of servers. This means new features get into users' hands quicker and safer.
Wow, those are some really serious pain points that Docker addresses head on. It really sounds like Docker isn't just another tool, it's more like a fundamental shift in how we build and run software. So, connecting this to the bigger picture now, looking towards 2025 and beyond, why is understanding Docker, especially paired with something like Spring Boot, such a critical gateway skill for a budding IT professional today?
It's critical because it aligns perfectly with, well, pretty much all the biggest trends shaping modern technology right now. First off, consider the massive rise of cloud computing. Platforms like Amazon Web Services, AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform, or GCP, they're the backbone of almost all new applications being built today. And Docker containers are basically designed from the ground up to run seamlessly on these cloud platforms. This unlocks true agility, letting companies scale their apps from zero to millions of users with, frankly, unprecedented ease. For you, learning this means your skills are immediately relevant to where the entire industry is going, where the jobs are.
Makes sense. Cloud is everywhere.
Exactly. Then there's the trend of microservices architecture. Many large, complex applications today, think Netflix, Spotify, Amazon, they aren't built as one giant monolithic piece of software anymore. Instead, they're broken down into dozens, sometimes even hundreds, of small, independent components called microservices. Each one does a specific job. Docker is absolutely ideal for this, as each microservice, say, a Spring Boot app handling user authentication, or another one processing payments, can run in its own isolated container. This makes them much easier to develop, test, deploy, and manage independently. And it creates a lot of specialized job roles focused on these services.
So it fits that modern architecture perfectly.
Perfectly. This also directly drives rapid development and deployment, or CI/CD. Businesses need to launch features and updates incredibly quickly now to stay competitive. It's just the reality. By packaging everything neatly into a container, Docker allows teams, even really small startups, to go from writing code to having it live in production potentially in hours, not days or weeks like it used to be. This means new features can be tested and rolled out to users at an unprecedented pace, which is a massive advantage. Knowing how to enable this makes you very valuable.
Faster time to market, always crucial.
Always. And related to that is DevOps and automation. You hear DevOps everywhere, right? It's a set of practices, a culture really, that brings software development, dev, and IT operations ops teams closer together. A huge part of it is automating the steps needed to get software out faster and more reliably. Docker is a cornerstone technology for this. It fully supports automated deployment pipelines, reducing manual work, minimizing errors, and speeding up updates. For anyone interested in infrastructure automation or site reliability engineering, Docker is pretty much a non-negotiable skill these days.
Right, it enables that whole DevOps pipeline.
Exactly. And finally, let's bring it back to your career path. Docker significantly boosts developer productivity and job market value. Its simplicity, once you get the hang of it, frees developers like you to focus on building innovative features, solving actual business problems, rather than constantly wrestling with server environments and configurations. And critically, look at job descriptions. Many companies now explicitly require Docker skills alongside backend skills like Spring Boot. Knowing how to containerize applications creates significant demand for developers like you. It's a skill that will definitely get your resume noticed and truly set you apart from the crowd.
That's really powerful. And our guide points to real-world impact too, doesn't it? It's not just theoretical. Like Amazon uses Docker extensively for its e-commerce microservices, ensuring things like product searches or payment processing can scale massively during big sales events like Prime Day. Netflix deploys its Spring Boot-based microservices using Docker to keep video streaming reliable for millions of users across the globe, even during peak viewing times.
And even traditional industries like banks use it for secure, consistent transaction processing across different systems. And countless startups leverage Docker to deploy their new products quickly and scale rapidly if, hopefully, their user base suddenly grows. It levels the playing field in many ways.
So given all this importance, all these benefits, for someone listening who's just starting out, maybe feeling a little intimidated, you might be thinking, okay, this sounds great, but how do I even begin to learn this?
Yeah. The good news is our source really emphasizes that Dockerizing a Spring Boot app is actually very approachable for new developers. It makes it an ideal first big step into the world of modern application deployment. Absolutely, I completely agree. For anyone seriously looking to build a robust, future-proof IT career, adding this capability to your skill set is a seriously smart move. And here's a clear, actionable path to get started, based directly on what the guide suggests. First, learn the basics of Docker. Don't try to boil the ocean. Start with foundational Docker tutorials. There are tons of great resources out there. Platforms like FreeCodeCamp or even Docker's own official website, docker.com, have excellent beginner-friendly materials. Focus first on just understanding what containers and images are at a fundamental level before diving too deep.
Start small, get the concepts.
Exactly. Next, explore Spring Boot. If you're not already familiar, dive into some basic Spring Boot tutorials. Sites like the official Spring.io guides or Beldung are fantastic resources. Get comfortable building just a simple Java web application with Spring Boot first. Then once you have that foundation, look for beginner guides that specifically show you how to add Docker to an existing Spring Boot project. I think it's often easier than trying to learn both completely from scratch at the exact same time.
Okay, learn them sequentially a bit.
Right. And then the most important part, build simple projects. Honestly, the best way to learn this stuff is by doing it. Create a really basic Spring Boot app, like you said, maybe a simple to-do list or a tiny API, and then actively try to Dockerize it yourself, following the steps we discussed earlier. Run the container on your own computer. Maybe even try deploying it to a small, free-tier cloud platform like Heroku or AWS free tier. That hands-on experience is absolutely paramount for making the concept stick in your brain.
Get your hands dirty.
You have to. And make use of the helpful tools available. Things like Spring Initializer, that's start.spring.io, can quickly generate a new Spring Boot project structure for you with all the necessary starting code. It gets you straight to the fun part of building. And Docker Desktop is a great application that simplifies managing containers right on your personal computer, whether you're using Windows, Mac, or Linux. Makes it much less intimidating.
Good tools make it easier.
Definitely. Finally, and this is crucial, join communities. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You're absolutely not alone on this learning journey. Platforms like Stack Overflow or Reddit's dedicated Docker and Spring Boot community subreddits are invaluable resources. You can learn from others' questions, ask your own, troubleshoot issues, and stay updated on best practices. Getting involved in those communities can really accelerate your learning curve immensely. Don't struggle in silence.
That's a fantastic roadmap for someone just getting started. It breaks it down nicely. And learning this skill, it really isn't just about mastering one specific tool, is it? It sounds like it genuinely enhances your fundamental ability to build and deploy professional, scalable applications with real confidence. It prepares you for a tech world where portability, consistency, and effortless scalability aren't just nice-to-haves or buzzwords, they're essential requirements for pretty much any serious software project today. It genuinely makes you a highly sought-after talent. What an illuminating deep dive today. We've really unpacked how Dockerizing a Spring Boot app essentially means packaging it into a truly portable, self-sufficient container, ensuring it runs consistently across any environment. We saw how it brilliantly solves those complex, long-standing challenges like environment inconsistencies, tricky manual setups, dependency conflicts, and scalability hurdles, making application deployment and management significantly easier and much more reliable. And its importance looking ahead to 2025 and beyond just cannot be overstated, really.
It's driven by the pervasive rise of cloud computing, the wide adoption of microservices architectures, the relentless business demand for rapid development cycles, and the global need for reliable, scalable applications that can potentially serve millions of users. This skill set is truly a cornerstone of modern IT, and it sounds like a fantastic foundation for anyone building their career.
Yeah, and maybe think about this as a final thought. In this world of constantly evolving technology, mastering tools like Docker isn't just about understanding a specific piece of software, right? It's more fundamentally about learning how to simplify complexity. It's about learning to standardize processes and how to build systems that are inherently resilient and adaptable to change. That core the ability to abstract away the messy details and streamline the deployment of complex applications, that is arguably one of the most valuable skills you can bring to any tech team today. It empowers you to build not just individual applications, but entire scalable, robust systems from the ground up. It's a way of thinking as much as it is a tool.
That's a great way to put it. Simplifying complexity. That's it for this deep dive. We hope this has given you a powerful shortcut to being well-informed about a crucial IT skill and maybe feeling inspired to start exploring it further. Join us next time for another journey into knowledge.